Let's talk ACC championship. At BetMGM, Clemson's a 10.5-point favorite, over under 60.5. Clemson wins. We assume they're in. Notre Dame wins. They're in. Notre Dame loses. They still could be, and we'll talk about that later in the show. But these two teams met earlier in the year, and it was a thriller. Clemson, let me say that again. Notre Dame was a 5-point home underdog, won 47-40 in overtime. I should say double overtime. And now Clemson is laying 10.5 at Charlotte. I'm going to say it again. Clemson's now laying 10.5 in Charlotte. If you go back to that earlier game, obviously Trevor Lawrence didn't play. If you look at from an EPA per play perspective, Clemson was the better side, and Book played incredible, especially late, especially on third downs. I mean, he played so well. But one of the things that I really did notice was Clemson's passing offense. Really, I mean, look at the first half: 0.61 EPA per play, run negative 0.82. If you look at when DJ was throwing the ball down the field, I mean, it was incredible how much success that they were having. And Notre Dame just said, we're going to stop Travis Etienne. And they did. And they took him completely out of the game. And Clemson, I think, was a little bit too stubborn. So I think that this total is a little bit too high. But I think it will come down to how Clemson attacks Notre Dame here. And if Notre Dame says we're going to just stop Travis Etienne again, because I think that Clemson, if that's the case, isn't going to bother running the ball here, and they're going to be attacking downfield, which I thought was a huge red flag error for Notre Dame, and it still might be. But if you're a Notre Dame fan, you can at least point to that recovery in the North Carolina game when they gave up 14 quick points and then shut down the North Carolina offense. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is on a different level here. That North Carolina offense is really good. So I'm interested to see how this plays out from a scheme perspective. I do show a tad bit of value on Notre Dame because I make this under 10. But I think that's what's really going to make or break this game. I lean Irish here. I don't think I want to get involved in the total because I'm not sure how Notre Dame is going to play this. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a game that I make 65 on the total, which is above where the market is. But at the same time, every little piece of data I uncover, I think that this game is going to go under. So I've stayed away from the side. But like you, I made this a single-digit power-rated ball game, which is why I took Notre Dame plus 11 on, I think, Sunday night or Monday morning. And I'm willing to come back and fire on Clemson because this is just a market that's screaming that Clemson's going to win this game by double digits. I mean, even though statistically everything that I look at, everything my eyeballs tell me, Notre Dame should cover this game and have a chance to win, the market is telling me something completely different, is that Clemson's going to win this game by double digits. But if we dive into this, and the reason why I say it is like Clemson minus 4.5 loses in South Bend. They play 2 games, and now they're minus 10.5 on a neutral field 3 games later. I mean, that's a hell of an adjustment. That's a Florida-Alabama type adjustment that we'll talk about later. And there's been plenty of ticket. And
obviously, they get Trevor Lawrence back too, which does help.
And the thing is like you talked about it. DJ was fine from a success rate standpoint. He played a really good game. There was no drop off in DJ's numbers versus what Trevor has put up before. So and I know that from a Vegas perspective, they don't really look as deep as we do, but we just know that success rate and what DJ did and the advanced stats was the same as what Trevor's done. So when you think of Clemson in 2021. Don't worry about the drop-off at the quarterback position if anybody was.
Yeah, the issue in the first game was, Book was awesome.
Yeah.
And he was attacking downfield too. But it was the Clemson play calling. They
didn't
throw enough.
And then if you flip to the other side of the ball, which I think is a big handicap in this game, is Skalski and Jones. Mike Jones Jr. and James Skalski, 2 linebackers for Clemson. They did not play in that Notre Dame game, and those 2 linebackers are the highest-graded pass coverage defenders on the Tigers defense. Mike Jones Jr. is back for this game. Xavier Thomas was suspended the first half. I don't think he even recorded a tackle in that game. But Skalski has been cleared to play, and it says that he's healthy and he's going to play, but we're looking at a torn groin, a sports hernia surgery, and this is the first time he'll be on the field since all of that happened. Skalski calls the plays on defense. He lines everybody up. There's been just, with the Venables, Venables Jr. here, Tyler or Jake, there's so many of them on the field, but Jake Venables, the linebacker that's filled in, you've seen an increase in missed tackles, missed assignments, and that's because Skalski's the one that calls the plays and gets everybody lined up correctly. So having him on the field just from a captain perspective is a huge plus for Clemson. But how good is he going to be running down, crossing routes? How good is he going to be plugging holes? We're going to have to see that. The thing that I come back to with Clemson is it's interesting to look at the Virginia Tech game, a game where you and I both had the Hokies, and we felt pretty good about ourselves after the first quarter. Virginia Tech gained 7 yards per play and had a 62% offensive success rate before the injuries hit every Hokies quarterback. The final score was extremely misleading because Virginia Tech was very much in that game until that happened. Clemson's biggest issue is defending standard downs explosiveness. They're 91st in the country, which is why you may see Ian Book take shots and definitely at the 10-yard, 15-yard range. And I think Tommy Rees, who has been heavy rushed the entire season as the offensive coordinator for Notre Dame, he opened up the playbook against Clemson and made it an even distribution of run and pass. And then, once Notre Dame got past that game, back to heavy rush, I think we open it back up and Notre Dame will be throwing some more, which is a feather in, the side of, the over here. But there's just one thing, and I know it's a statistical thing in the box and it's an eyeball thing, Stuck. That Notre Dame domination of North Carolina, especially in the second half, I can't get over it. Sam Howell had one explosive drive in the entire game and a 21% success rate in the fourth quarter and 24 rushing attempts by UNC. Notre Dame stuffed 15 of 24. I can't.
And then we see UNC go put up 800 points against Miami after.
If Notre Dame and Clark Lee, the new Vanderbilt head coach, can't wait to see the offensive coordinator hire there. If they play the way that they did against North Carolina, Travis Etienne's going to get shut down again. And what the hell was Trevor Lawrence throwing it directly to a Virginia Diablo for Virginia Tech in the end zone? I mean, stared right at Diablo.
He threw another one that got dropped. That would have been a pick six.
Are we sure that – I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. As somebody that has essentially adopted Trevor Lawrence and is my household name the last 3 years, are we sure that Trevor Lawrence is an upgrade from DJ? I'm not – I mean, after I saw what happened at Virginia Tech, maybe he'll prove me wrong here. Maybe it's just a little fluke and he's getting warmed up after the COVID. We'll see. So, both defenses, here's the reason why I lean to the under. I know I project 65.
I'll take a 10.5 right now.
I know, right? I mean, 10, and if it goes under, listen to this. This is what really made my mind up that I'm going to stick tight on believing that this is an under game. Both defenses, top 8 and opponent drives of 2 minutes or less. The defenses get the other team off the field. Top 13 in drives of 6 plays or less. This could be a 3-and-out punt fest. These defenses are excellent in getting the other team off of the field. We've talked about how Clemson's rush has been broken all year long. I don't know where Trevor Lawrence is throwing the ball. The Skalski is what's going to make up my mind here. I've got Notre Dame plus 11 in my back pocket. I'm going to watch Skalski move in the first 2 drives. If I don't see him keeping up with crossing routes and I don't see him plug into A, B, and C gap on rushing attempts, I'm going to let the Notre Dame thing run, and I might take him live. But if Skalski is full health, then, both defenses should absolutely roll in this game, which plays into, a low total. It should play into Notre Dame too. I just can't get over that the market in my eyes, and it's not always right, but, Notre Dame is just taking hellacious amounts of tickets and money. That number, every time it dips to 9.5, scoop back up, pinged as quick as possible.